Bob Holt joining us from the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Always fun to talk with Bob. And, you know, Bob, I've just realized this because I don't know if you've been able to attend any of the baseball games this year in person. I don't like watching baseball on TV, but I'm spoiled because I'm supposed to be at all the Arkansas baseball games. And I find myself like watching the SEC late game last night on television, and I'm like, I know I just watched a game at that same stadium, but it just doesn't look the same. Baseball never translates properly on TV for me anymore. Does it for you?
Well, yeah, I finally did attend a game in person out at Baum Walker at the Florida-Arkansas game on Saturday because I was finally fully vaccinated, and obviously there were a lot of people out there. But, there's some things you certainly can see in person that you can't see on TV. I think it's always better to be there in person. I think, some sports like football really translate well to television. I think sometimes they're almost better to watch on TV with the natural breaks. But baseball, I think, is still a sport that, is much better in person than it is on TV. You certainly can cover things off TV, whether it's you calling radio or me writing a story. But I think baseball just really lends itself to the in-person experience so much more because you really can't show the whole field, obviously, in a television screen. And football, you really can focus on the line of scrimmage and then, move the camera around to follow the ball. But in baseball, sometimes there are just maybe certain fielders you want to focus on or, seeing different things. So, yeah, definitely we're not there in Hoover this year. I'd miss being there, and hopefully, things will be more back to normal next year. Well, I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, sorry.
Can't hear anything.
It looks like we lost Phil and Matt Jenkins both at the same time somehow. So,
okay, sorry about that. Hope I didn't mess something up.
No, it's not you. Jenkins says that was. Are you there, Jenkins?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now I hear you.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, we'll carry on from here. Bob Holt joining us here on halftime. We'll see if we can get these technical issues figured out here. Bob, just talk a little bit about Lael Lockhart. I mean, dude was just straight dealing last night. And, Bob, that's huge for this bullpen moving forward as we look to move forward here. I mean, going 7 and Heston Toll going 2. That proves that's going to be big time for this team moving forward in this SEC tournament, Bob.
Yeah, and I think even more important is it's big for the pitching staff moving into regional play and possibly super regional play because, losing Peyton Paulette, that was a big loss. He's a guy who'd been a starter for much of the season. He pitched well out of the bullpen at times. And so they're going to need people to help fill innings. And as you said, that'll be big for this bullpen moving forward, that Lockhart was able to go 7 innings. And they only had to use 2 pitchers, yesterday. And certainly I would think we'd see Kevin Kopps tonight against Vanderbilt. I'm not anticipating going 3 or 4 innings, maybe 2, maybe 1. But, yeah, Lockhart, that's very promising performance for Arkansas. And he has been pitching better. He struggled in the middle part of the year, only won a third of an inning at LSU. And he just kind of wondered, where his confidence level might be, and then they got him going against Arkansas State with a couple good innings in relief, and then he pitched pretty well at Tennessee, 4 1/3. You'd like a few more innings, or another inning or so, but he pitched pretty well, and then he obviously pitched great yesterday, and so that's big for this pitching staff moving forward, without a doubt.
I think you got me back here, Bob. You got me here? Here I am.
I can hear you. Yeah, sorry about that.
I think they can hear me back in the studio now, too.
That's weird.
Let's give that a try.
Don't you love bugs running through the studio?
That's right. So we're back here, and everything's okay. Everything's okay. We don't always get number 1 versus number 2 in college athletics, Bob. And a lot of times when they do, it's for a national championship, or you see a change in the polls. Is there any way that for what happens tonight, let's say Vanderbilt beats Arkansas, do you think that the NCAA committee looks at that and says, well, maybe Vandy belongs ahead of Arkansas?
I would hope the selection committee wouldn't put that much weight on one game. I mean, it is a matchup of a team that's been number 1 for most of the season and most of the polls, and Vanderbilt's been usually when our side number one is somebody called Vanderbilt's been there. But, Vanderbilt's the fourth seed in the SEC. They didn't even win the SEC East. Not that they haven't had a great season, but and it looks like we're going to get Rocker and maybe Wicklander. Matt, I hadn't heard for sure. Maybe you had with Wicklander start. That would be kind of a natural thing. But neither of those guys is going to max out on pitches, I wouldn't think. So, yeah, I think it's a really fun game for the fans, and I'm sure, the players are playing for pride and want to win it. But, I think no matter what happens, Arkansas should be the number one overall seed. I don't think the committee would put – maybe if they'd shared the SEC title or something like that, or during the season one of them had taken 2 out of 3 from the other or swept or whatever. But this is – I don't want to say it's an exhibition game, but it's a game where like I say with the pitchers, it's not like they're going to max those guys out. So I think it'll be a really fun game to watch. I wish it was starting a lot earlier. But, I think it's a fun game for the fans, but I would hope the selection committee isn't determining, the number one overall seed based off the outcome of this game. I wouldn't think they would.
Yeah, and you better put an ish next to the start time because you never know what's going to happen in the game before. And, just chances are the game before is going extra innings just because, Florida and Alabama are going to go 13, 14 innings. The Hogs and Vandy won't start until like 10 o'clock, and then we'll just be ruined for the weekend with our sleep. Did you see, I don't remember who it was. I think it was Southern Miss. I forget who they were playing last night in the Conference USA tournament. They had first pitch, Bob, at 1:15 in the morning. And that when you're doing that in any form of college athletics, like what are we doing when you start a game at 1:15 in the morning?
I guess they're trying to give knock some infomercials off the air. Yeah, I think it was Western Kentucky, and I don't know who won the game. Do you know who won that game? Are they still playing? Maybe
they're probably still playing. Yeah, they're probably in the 21st inning right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess they're trying to stay on schedule. Presumably, the coaches would have to agree to that. I don't know, but maybe the conference can dictate, hey, play now or forfeit or something. But yeah. There's kind of always that the double standard with the NCAA where, and I assume, they don't have the class tomorrow or whatever, but, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Doesn't really seem fair to the players. I don't know if that was an elimination game or what, but I guess, they got off schedule for some reason, rain or something. And I guess they just felt like they had to get the game in, but that does seem a little ridiculous. You think you'd almost rather say, look, you play at 8 in the morning, which I don't think the players would be too hot for that either. But yeah, sometimes you just have some crazy things in college baseball tournaments.
Couple more minutes here with you, Bob Holt of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Bob, when you look at this Vandy matchup tonight and possibly even moving forward in this SEC tournament, and we can look ahead into the regionals, Brady Lavins with his injury last night, how crucial of a hit to this lineup is the injury of Brady Lavins to this team?
Well, it's huge because he's leading the team in RBIs, and he's, been a big power hitter for him, and obviously a big run producer, and you hate to see that. And that's kind of where you shake your head and say this tournament really doesn't mean anything to Arkansas. And, they lose Paulette right before the tournament starts, and then Lavins gets injured, and I guess it was Caleb Bolden that got a hit in the eye with a ball, kind of a stray ball, pre-game practice, pre-game drills, and Dave Van Horst probably thinking, hey, just get us out of here, before anybody else gets hurt, And, you hate to see that. The good thing for Arkansas is they're not going to play. In terms of the regional, they won't play again, for more than a week. So that gives them some time to heal up. But ankle injuries can be tricky, and so that's huge for Arkansas. In a bad way if he can't play, obviously, because he's one of their best hitters and a huge run producer.
Bob, one of the things that I noticed with last night's game, and they made note of it on the broadcast last night, Matt Goodhart bumping up to the leadoff spot for this team. And, Bob, something about he's I don't know if he's just lost confidence in his swing, but, Bob, Matt Goodhart's definitely been struggling from the plate. And you need Matt Goodhart to really be what we know that he can be to really make a deep run in this NCAA or SEC tournament and looking ahead into the regionals and super regionals. And I'm sure you'd agree that Matt Goodhart needs to get this thing figured out quickly.
Yeah, he's really in a huge slump. I think, Phil probably knows, he's 1 for 30 or 1 for 31, and here's a guy that's been, again, another big run producer for him. You know, guys hit a lot of home runs, driven in runs, and he's an older guy, and I don't know exactly what's happening. It looks like he's just not seeing the ball very well. Some of those pitches he was taking, you're thinking, wow, you know, I can't believe he didn't swing at that, and or thought that might be a ball. And so I'm sure his confidence has got to be low right now. And I don't know. I mean, Dave Van Horn, this is why he's the Hall of Fame coach. The best way to break him out, maybe sit him down for a game, let him watch from the bench, or, you know, you can't break out a slump without, you know, getting in the batter's box. And now these games aren't that meaningful to him in terms of, you know, compared to a regional play. So maybe you try to let him hit his way out of the slump here in Hoover. I don't know, but yeah, he's struggling. Like, if somebody told me he'd be in a slump like this, I would have said, no, there's no way he'll struggle to that extent for that long. But yeah, they really need to get him going, especially when you see a guy like Charlie Welch. You wonder, well, does he maybe, you know, besides being, it's great to have him as a pinch hitter because then you can plug him in where you feel like he's most important. But you wonder if maybe should he be getting more at bats? Maybe sit down Goodhart for a game, just try to see if that'll shake him out. But I don't know. But that's, yeah, especially if Lavins is hurt and if Goodhart's really struggling, that's two of their top run producers that you know need to be producing.
Let me jump in real quick, and Phil, well, I mean, for both of you, do you think there could be a scenario in this season where Charlie Welch and Matt Goodhart maybe flip-flop a little bit? Or because we know how well Charlie Welch is hit. So, I mean, do you think we could see that in the SEC tournament just to see what he might be able to do in a starting role rather than coming off the bench?
I think the roles that Charlie is filling right now are the roles that Dave wants him to fill. That doesn't mean he won't get a chance, I think, to start as a DH in this tournament, but I'd be surprised if that's the case in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think it's pretty late in the season to be making major changes. And, you know, you got a guy like Goodhart who's, you know, been productive for not just this season, but multiple seasons. And, of course, you know, Welsh has been incredible in a limited role. You're not sure. I think he's had 7 starts at DH, but I think only one of those was maybe in an SEC game, or maybe none of them were in SEC games. And so late in the season, that might be a tough deal to, you know, whatever confidence Goodhart has left, if you bench him, you know, you just lose him entirely confidence-wise. So, and then how does Welsh take to a bigger role? And the thing is, right now, it's like against Florida, I think the bases were loaded, and you know, Dave pinch hit Welsh, and I think a run scored on a wild pitch, and then he hit that 2-run double. Well, Dave was able to pinch hit him there against the lefty, and say, well, you know, this is where we want to use Charlie. But if he's in your regular lineup, then you can't dictate when you might want to use him. So, yeah, I agree with Phil. It's probably it's easy to say, well, Welsh is batting 400, bat him, Goodhart's struggling, but it's a little more complicated than that.
Bob, appreciate you, man. Thanks for hopping on with us this week, and next week we'll be talking regionals.
Okay, well, you better take a nap so you can stay up to call that game tonight.
It's the first thing I said when this show started today, so you obviously are on the same wavelength as me. 877-377-6963 to get on halftime. I don't think you'll see Goodhart at first base today. I don't think you'll see Charlie Welch at first base today. They haven't played the field very much. I think you'll see Cullen Smith at first base for the remainder of this tournament and Jacob Nesbitt at third, and they'll go from there. I can also tell you about Wheels RV in Springdale. That's the place that you need to go to find all the best brands at the best prices when you want to seek out all that the Natural State has to offer during the summer. You'll find Grand Design, Forest River, KZ, Heartland, Keystone, Alliance. And you also enjoy peace of mind with a lifetime warranty on every new RV, and a mobile service shuttle keeps you coming. It's 5 miles west off I-49, exit 72. Seek, explore, discover Wheels RV.